Hi, boy. Good to see you.
Hi, Mac. Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much for taking the time out. I know that you're really busy with your job.
Yeah, but
Uh,
it's fun because it is also a good opportunity to reflect on myself, to reflect on what I experienced before.
So I'll start off, if I may. Can you just explain what you're currently doing at the moment, your job and where you work?
And I'm working in one of the big four, and I'm a senior associate. Currently, I'm working in bank and capital market. So my clients, all of them, they engage in bank and capital market industry. Yeah, because I used to work in China for 4 years as an auditor,
Mm.
and then I moved to the UK. So I worked here as a senior associate.
That would be a super good place to start, actually, because we were talking just before the interview started. Your office, as it were, is in Canary Wharf, but
Yeah,
you're
yeah, yeah.
currently living and working still in Southampton. What it's been like the last couple of months working remotely, and how that's been for you.
Because I got a job because I joined the company in April, so it is almost the peak of the coronavirus. So
Mm.
currently, and we have to work at home, and I have been working from home for almost 2.5 months, and currently, I never meet my teammates, so we can only communicate with my team members and my clients online. So if we have something to discuss and we need to arrange a meeting with them, so it is a little bit challenging for me, especially I need to, because it is my first job in the UK, and I need to get used to the working culture and the environment, and I need to set up new relationship with my colleagues and my clients. But overall, and my colleagues and my clients, they are very cooperative and they are very nice. And every week we have a weekly catch up with our team members. For example, we will share some pictures, share some stories of our own self, and also play some games. So it is very.
So I want to let's rewind because your story, I feel, is quite unique. You are a slightly more mature professional.
Yeah,
So you had
yes,
a number of years working in China, and
yeah,
then you made the really it's the super brave decision to kind of go. Do you know what? I want something more. I'm going to go to the UK. I'm going to study a master's. I'm going to get a job in the UK, which was like really scary, so brave.
because I used to work in China for 7 years. For the first 3 years, I worked as an accountant. But overall, I really don't like to become an accountant because I think the work of an accountant is quite boring, and there is very little room for me to make progress. For example, um, if I was assigned for the revenue, and maybe I will do it for the whole year, and even though I get familiar with it, and I want to change to other functions or other parts, and there is very little room for me to make progress or get promoted because the work of the accountants or the accounting are very stable. So there's very little flow, movement of the staff. Then because some of my classmates, they also worked in some big four, and they told me that and we can learn a lot in the big four. So I changed my job and I worked in PwC in Shanghai. Yeah, because I really enjoy working as an author, even though it is very hardship and it's really there was a lot of overtime work, but I can get access to various industries such as banking, finance companies, and I can deal with a lot of clients. And every year there is a very clear promotion path for you, and every year you will get access to new stuff to do, and you will get access to a lot of clients within that year. So maybe you will learn. So maybe during the 1 year, the number of clients you deal with exceeds the total number of clients you dealt with if you become if you work as an accountant. So there is a lot to learn, and also the auditor and the accounting firm, they can provide the most up-to-date financial accounting standards such as IFRS, and there is a lot of training, so you can really get access to the most up-to-date information, and your professionalism will be promoted. And also you need to communicate with your clients, and your communication skills is promoted. So I can, from my working experience as an auditor for 4 years, and I can really sense that my communication skills is promoted, obviously, compared with before when I was an accountant, because you are forced to deal with the client and your team member. So I decided to become an auditor. And then after working in the auditing firm for 4 years, and I just feel, because there is a lot of overtime work, and I start to reflect on my life, because I have a dream before that when I got almost 3 years old, 30 years old, and I want to go abroad to see the world outside. So I think that I had better to achieve my dream before I becoming older. So I decided to come to the UK. And I studied at the University of Southampton, and I studied finance. Because after graduation, because I really like the UK, like the diversified culture, and so I think that why not I start to find a job in the UK. So I applied for a lot of jobs, including the graduate scheme and also the experienced hires jobs. And I really prepared a lot and spent a lot of time on the job application. Yeah, yes, and I think that you know very clearly about the experience of the job application back. So it is really challenging, but luckily that I found a job in the end. So I applied for, so I successfully got a job in the Big Four in the UK. So I think I was I'm very lucky.
You came out of university and then you're working in an accounting department. So you worked in accounts payable and receivable. And I think what you were sharing there, just saying, the work became a bit monotonous because you're just doing a very similar task.
Yeah.
There was no opportunity for promotion. Then you actually went on and worked for 4 years for one of the Big Four in China. And that gave you much more opportunity for responsibility, for growth, for meeting new clients. And then you took this really massive leap of faith and just said, well, I want to come and study in the UK. I want to try. And of course, that's how we met. And then you've ended up, working for the Big Four in the UK.
Yeah.
So when you came from China to the UK, did you just plan to study a master's? Did you plan to work in the UK? And if you planned to work in the UK, did you have a plan? Like, did you know what you were going to do, or you just kind of thought, I'll just try my best?
Yes, to be honest, before I come into the UK, I never thought about looking for a job in the UK, because I just want to experience the study life in the UK, to experience the local culture. But after I arriving here on the first day, and I fall in love with the UK, yeah, because it is very diversified and very inclusive, and also because I can experience a lot of new stuff, so deal with people from all over the world. And also I think working in the UK is a very good and precious working experience for me. So I decided to have a try. But I know that it is really hard for the international students to find a job in the UK because of the limits of the visa. And I just want to try my best to just think. I always told myself that never don't care too much about the results. As long as there is no regret when you're looking back afterwards. So I just always say that to myself, and just try to myself, because what you can do is that just try yourself, and the rest is up to the God.
The rest is, yeah, do your
Yeah,
best and God will do the rest. Yeah.
yeah.
Tell us about the journey that you went through to find a job, because I mean, obviously I know that it wasn't an easy journey, but it would be super interesting if you can just outline what you had to go through to get that job, to get the job that you have now.
I started studying at the University of Southampton in December 2018. So I prepared the job almost from September, but I applied for the job from time to time and didn't spend too much time. And also because I came to a new country and there was a lot of difference between the job application process in the UK and that in China. And I just struggled to find a very effective solution to successfully find a job. And I applied for almost more than 10 jobs, and even I filled all of them for even in the online test phase. So this kind of situation lasted for almost half 1 year, and I realized that if this kind of situation continues, it is impossible for me to find a job because the time is very precious, because we have the visa limit. And then I decided to find an agent to help me. And then luckily, I managed to find you, Mac. And then you gave me a lot of guidance and tell me the whole process of job application. And you tell me how to prepare the OT and the video interview and assessment center. Just let me, I remember very clearly that you asked me to prepare the online test and the video interview at the same time. And you told me that one day you will pass the online test and you cannot wait. You get the video interview invitation that you start to prepare it because it is too late. So you give me a lot of the usually asked questions, and you give me a lot of mock interviews. And during the mock interview, and you gave me a lot of suggestions on how to improve it, and then I practiced a lot. So the most impressive thing you told me is that no fluency, no job, and you asked me to attend a lot of questions, to attend as much as activities to improve my English. So I attended the Toastmasters in Southampton, and it is public speaking club. And then until now, I still attend the
Right. Okay.
Toastmasters. So, and I also knew a lot of people there. It is really helpful. So I think the job application process is not just a kind of job application, and it can bring me a lot other than the job. My job application journal takes around I found you in February 2019, and then I continued application, practice, and application. So I just almost found 1 year, and I applied for both graduate scheme and experience hired, and then luckily I found a job. And also because the journal of looking for a job is very lonely, and sometimes you will feel very frustrated if you are rejected several times by all kinds of companies, and you always encourage me never give up.
Yeah.
And if sometimes my English is not very fluent, and you will remind me to practice, and especially also for the video interview, to ask me how to be more passionate, to avoid monotone, and give me a lot of suggestions. Yes, so I never thought that I can pass any video interview, but in the end, I passed a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I think, look, it's just when you think about it, boy, the tremendous courage that you had to come from China to the UK to just basically just go, because you left a good job, you didn't. Your job was not insignificant, and you could have stayed there, but you took a chance, and you can't help but admire that. And I always kind of knew that you had it in you. You had that grit because you were so adamant that you weren't just going to study and go back home. As soon as you'd made your mind up, and when someone's motivated enough, they find a way, and you always found a way every time. Every time that I kind of said, yeah, your English is not so good today, or what have you been doing, or, you know, I'd just send you messages, or, yeah, and the failures as well, you know, you'd be like, we've had many conversations where you're just like, I'm so frustrated, and what have I done? And I could see that it was close, you know, it may not be today, may not be tomorrow, but you can see as a coach, that's experience, you know, when someone's close to getting a result. So why did you, I mean, this could either be true of the UK or of China, but why did you choose like accounting, professional services and finance as an industry to work in?
Okay, and because after graduation, I also started to think which kind of industry I'm going to take on. But I think that um, the professionalism is very important for you to start to work on any industry. And because I used to work in China for 4 years in PwC, and I realized that especially during the journey of looking for a job in the UK, I can deeply sense that my work experience, even in China, in Big Four, is highly recognized in the UK. So it is highly recognized all over the world. And also because the IFRS is, the committee of IFRS is headquartered in London. And if I work in an accounting firm, especially in Big Four, and it is very helpful for me to get access to the most up-to-date financial standards to deal with all kinds of international clients. And also I actually, because I was not very confident to say that I can deal with any kind of industry or business, and there is still a lot for me to study. So I think Big Four is a very good choice for me. So I decided to work on this industry, even though I have to go back to China, and I still maybe continue working as an auditor, even though it is very hardship, but it is really helpful for your whole life working experience.
Working at the Big Four and in professional services, it does give you a tremendous range of experience across different types of companies. Even though you're specializing in banking and capital markets, that's an enormous industry with lots of different types of clients, from large multinationals to really very small companies, and maybe just, you know, like a small hedge fund, for example, that might just have a handful of employees, but because of the amount of money that they handle, they need to, you know, they need to be audited by the Big Four.
Yeah.
And I think what you're kind of sharing there is that you get such a broad range of experience with all these different clients.
Yes, all sides of from the small, medium, and large sized, all kinds of, and all sized of.
What are the differences between working in the Big Four in China and working in the Big Four in the UK?
Okay, so to be honest, I don't think that the accounting standards there is too much difference, because in China, even though we use the accounting standards of Chinese government, but our accounting standards is much more convenient to the IFRS. So it is very familiar. It's very similar, and especially for some listed companies. So it is compulsory for them to take on the US GAAP or the IFRS. So I think the professionalism, they're very similar. And I think the biggest difference is that the working culture and also the language. Because first about the working culture, because in the UK, we need to, our colleagues, they come from over the world. And because I have working here only for less than 3 months. And my team, and they are from Philippines, from China, from Pakistan, from the UK, and from the Poland. And afterwards, I will deal with other colleagues from other countries. So we have different languages and different communication styles. And also, you need to get used to how to deal with other people from other countries. For example, if in China, if we talk to someone and we used to say this stuff very directly, but here, if I want to say something in our communication tools, the Teams, and we will say hi. And for example, if I talk to you, Mac, I will say, "Hi, Mac. How are you going? How are you?" Yeah, because maybe it is a sense of culture that before you contacting people, you need to say that, "How are you?" to ask. Yeah, I know it is very kind of pleasantness, and just feel and it is very good to let people feel relaxed, but it is a kind of the culture. So you need to sense and learn this kind of culture. And also here, I think compared with the Big Four in China, it is more democratic. For example, because I am a senior associate, and I have several junior team members work for me. And if we want to have a meeting and it is time for the time off, it's a time at about around 6. And if they don't want to do this job just in this day, and they want to do it tomorrow, and they can talk to me. Hi, and can we discuss it tomorrow? Yeah, and also even say this to me or to my manager. But I think it is impossible to do this in China, because I think in China it is a more strict hierarchy. It is the start of my job in the UK, and also it is my first job. So it is a little bit challenging at the beginning and stressful, because English is not my first language, and I need to speak to people from all over the world, and need to get used to all kinds of accents. Yes, I remember clearly that for my first time I talked to my client on the call, and because I was not very familiar with the business at the beginning, and also he's a very native English speaker with very strong UK accent. And if he speaks very fast, I cannot catch up what he's meaning. But luckily at that time, and my manager, he was also online, and he talked with him mainly. So, and afterwards I realized that, and I need to keep focused and get fully prepared before the meeting.
Yeah, thanks. I think that was really helpful. I quite enjoyed you talking about, the directness. I mean, we're quite familiar with, the sort of Chinese directness.
Yes.
I think this is not just a Chinese characteristic. It's a very Asian characteristic.
Yeah.
I've been to a number of Asian countries, and I think they're very much like, it's just straight to the point, because time is precious.
Yes,
and it's
yes.
not. But compared in Western culture, it's perceived as rude. It's kind of like, you don't even say hello. It's like, for example, if we're in China, and so I said, I wouldn't even say hello. I'd be like, did you do the work? Why's the work done? Go and do the work. Quickly, go. Like that.
Yes. Hi, Mike. Have you done it? Have you finished?
Yeah, it wouldn't be like, hi, how are you?
Mike, how are you going?
Be like, what are you talking about? Shut up. Get to work. Go.
Yeah. Because of that, we really spent 5 minutes or 2 minutes on the hi, on the greeting.
Yeah. Very. What's been the biggest challenge?
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned, the biggest challenge is that setting up new relationship with with my colleagues and my clients. And also, I think the language is also still a challenge for me, even though I have been staying here for 2 years.
Just tell us how you've improved your English fluency since you've been in the UK.
So I think since I came to UK, because I need to find as many opportunities to deal with English language speakers. So I attended a series such activities and clubs such as the hill walking clubs and also the English corners in the university and also the Toastmasters to let me be exposed to the English language environment. So I think it is my approach, but it's really helpful.
Why don't you explain what is Toastmasters?
Actually, Toastmasters in the meeting, the Toastmaster in the club is the host of the meeting, and there are several roles that you can play, such as the Toastmaster. It is a host, and also you can become a timekeeper to record the time, because for every speech there is a time limit. And also you can work as a table topic master and the table topic speakers. So table topic is like a kind of IELTS examinations. Just give you give you any, for example, this phone, and give you this step, and without there is no there is no thinking time. Just give you that let you give a presentation for 1 minute to 2 minutes without any thought. So, and also there's and you can attend there as a speaker, public speakers, and also you can work as an evaluator to evaluate the public speech. So it is very helpful.
Yeah, because it's a great place to practice, but also to learn, because you get to see everybody else. Also, I hope that you'll agree, it's a great place to realise that it doesn't matter that you're not fluent in English, because everybody makes mistakes. Let's just talk a little bit about, how important is English fluency in your job, and what would you advise to people? I know often international students wonder how good their English should be. So what would you say to them?
So I would say that first, just study English every day. Even, for example, even if you cannot find an English speaker to practice your oral English, and you still need to listen to some English programs such as the BBC News, and also there's a lot of good programs in the YouTube, such as This Morning or Good Morning Britain, and there's all a lot of talk shows such as Ellen Talk Show. And I think this kind of talk shows or news, and you can know and you can know news happen all over the world. And it is also a kind of practice of your listening, because I think listening is as important as your oral English. And also I think it is more important compared with your oral English, because it is precondition that you can improve your oral English, because if you can understand what the native speakers say, and you can learn from their language, so you can take away a lot of good stuff. And also during my working experience, I can also sense the importance of listening. Just as I mentioned before, for some native speakers, if they have some conjunctions, and I can always think that if they speak fast, and sometimes I feel that for one sentence, just like a kind of only one word, so it is a little bit challenging. So improve your listening. And second is your oral English, because just as Max said, oral English is very important. No fluency, no job, because I know that in the job application for the video interview, the assessment center, the fluency is very, very important, because it is very competitive. If you hear a person who speak English is not very fluent, and maybe you will lose your patience to hear what he's saying. And also especially in the assessment center phase, because it is really competitive. If you want to stand out from among a lot of group, you need to express your ideas fluently and clearly. And during my working experience, and especially as an author, I need to deal with my team members and my clients, and communication is very, very important. And I need to learn, I need to express my problem and present to my clients and my team members. So communication is very, very important. And so, and during my experience of looking for a job, and Max suggests me to spend 20 minutes every day to practice my video interview, to speak to, and you can, because all of us, every one of us, we have a phone, and we can use the camera, we can record ourselves and to see ourselves, how to improve our facial expression and how to avoid monotone, to observe ourselves, even though it is very it's very disgusting at the beginning, but and gradually you will get used to it, and you will become very confident, and you will sense your progress gradually. And third, just as what I mentioned before, to attend as many as activities every day. So just manage your time every day to but you need to arrange some time to deal with the English speakers, even though if you cannot find native speakers, but and you can also still to communicate with other countries such as the European people and the Indian people and other speakers, and it is equally important to improve your oral English. And also, I think church is also a good place to yes to go. And I attend because usually I usually go to a church, not because I am a Christian, just because first I think the idea of the church is very good, and the idea of God is very good, and they recommend kindness, friendliness. So people in the church, they are very friendly. So if you speak to them, they are very patient. And yeah, and even though you cannot hear them very clearly, and you can speak out directly, sorry, I cannot hear you very clearly. Could you speak again? So they never mind it. So go to a church if you are not very opposed to the church.
And just building upon what you said about going to church, that's also why I used to advise, and in fact you did this as well. I used to say go and do some voluntary work in a charity shop.
Yes,
because you know, generally it's full of really nice old ladies or people who have time.
Yeah.
So you can kind of have a chat with them, you can listen to them. You know, you want to be putting yourself somewhere in a position where you don't feel nervous, you don't feel like you have to rush, or you don't feel like you're making a mistake. And amongst those people, like you said, in church, nice people, quite very patient. They're not, you know, they don't mind if your English isn't that good. They can still understand you.
Yes.
You know, I think what you touched on as well is really important. It's about engaging in the community around you.
Yes.
Because once you're a part of that community, you get more opportunities, more relationships. You're not going to like everybody, but you'll meet some people who you really get on with, and that gives you an opportunity to then better understand the culture and the country.
Yes, and also because the reason, apart from the language speaking, the reason that I recommend you attend a lot of activities, that because you know that you will feel very depressed and lonely and frustrated during your long journey of job hunting. So if you attend if you attend some activities, and you will know a lot of people and a lot of friends, and you will not become very lonely. So Yes, so it is what I felt during my experience, and I have made a lot of friends, and also gave me a lot of encouragement, and the people in the church, they bless me. Hi, Bo, I will pray for you.
Is there anything? Is there any kind of big misconceptions or misunderstandings about the industry that you work in, or working at the Big Four, being an auditor, that you find that people have?
Yes, I think the biggest misunderstanding or misconception people have is that, oh, you every day you deal with a lot of numbers and you are very good at mathematics. But the fact is that during my work, we don't need to very good at calculation or some kind of mathematics. We only need to how to use the Excel. If you work in the Big Four, and your skills of Excel will be improved greatly. And because your senior or your manager will give you a lot of skills or suggestions to teach you how to improve your working efficiency, to save your time, to become more efficient.
What would you say are the three most important skills in your job, and why?
The first one is communication skills, because we need to face our clients and we need to communicate with our team members, and especially me, I need to train or give some training to my junior team members, and I also need to report to my managers. So I think communication is especially important, such as your English fluency and your expression ability. So I think the communication skills, you need to learn how to improve your communication skills. You can learn from such as you can learn from your colleagues, to learn how to observe that, how they communicate and deal with people, to learn from them. The second one is that I think the learning skills, because I think a lot of people, especially people who are younger than me, they always tell me that, hi, Bo, because I didn't study accounting or audit in audit, can I apply for Big Four? I just told them that, why not? Everyone, whatever subjects you are studying in your colleague, and you can everyone, and you can apply for Big Four, because I think the Big Four, they welcome people from all kinds of subjects. Learning ability is more important than what you have learned in your colleague or in your university, because the Big Four, they will supply a lot of trainings to teach you how to do this job. I think there's not too much difference between if you study English before, or study Chinese literature or mathematics, or if you study the accounting. Some people, if they didn't study accounting, they can do much better. The third important skill, I think, is that the problem solving skills.
Mm.
Yeah, because the problem solving skills, because you cannot ask everything from your senior or your manager, especially when they are off. Yeah, for example, this Friday, I dealt with one of my clients. His manager level, because I asked for some supporting from him, and he gave me. He replied me and also CC'd my manager, and he told me that what's the sense or what's the meaning for you to ask me this kind of supporting. And then at the beginning, I was shocked. I don't know how to reply him. But then after I calmed down, and I replied him that, because we need to guarantee the completeness and the correctness of the number, and we need to apply and we need to ask for the supporting. But if you don't want to give us this supporting, and we can contact our group audit team, and then we made an agreement in the end. So I think the problem solving skills is very important. So you need to think independently how to solve this problem, and you cannot rely on your senior or your manager, whichever industry you are working on afterwards, you need to you need to keep learning and keep improving. Learn from the book and from your colleagues and from your clients.
Yeah, I love the last skill that you named, problem solving, because I think something we could also call this conflict resolution. Um, having myself run businesses, run teams, and run companies, hired people and fired people, and dealt with all the stuff in between. The most difficult thing actually is the people. The
Yes,
processes are
yes,
relatively
yes,
easy, to whatever it is that you're doing, but it's the people. For example, maybe what they don't teach you in university is like, what if you ask someone to do something, they say no, I don't want to do it, or I haven't got time to do it, or it's actually about learning to become much better at dealing with people, understanding their agendas. And this actually, it ties in really well. Like when I spoke to Winnie last week, one of her big pieces of advice was about the skill of saying no, to saying no to people, saying no to kind of draws on your time. And I think you bring up another really good point, which is just having that ability to kind of solve problems by yourself. Also, be an independent thinker, stand up for yourself, and know
yes,
what's right and wrong.
yes. And it can also improve your leadership skills,
Mm,
because after you're working for 2 years or 3 years, and you will take some leadership role, and you will look after one or two junior members. So you need to learn how to let them just to work more efficiently, and to what if they don't want to work,
mm.
or all kinds of problems to deal with.
What tips would you give to somebody who wants to break into the Big Four in the UK? Say this person is a current international student.
Mm. So the tips I want to give to every student, especially the international students, is that never give up to mm, to persist in the end, because you will never know what will happen in the next day. Because from my experience of job hunting, I almost applied for my job application continues for almost 2 years. Yes, from December, from
Mm,
September 2018, and then I got a job just this beginning of this March. So it takes almost 2 years, and I almost want to give up, because I applied for every job that I can apply for, and hundreds of jobs, around 200 companies and positions, and I almost gave up. And this company is the last opportunity that I talked to myself, and I talked to myself that if I failed, and I will go back to China. Never give up. As long as you keep practice, and you will make improvement. And second is that to prepare from just now, and just spare some time every day, for example 20 minutes, to practice your English, especially your oral English, and to practice some frequently asked questions in the video interview or in the assessment center, because the more you practice, the more you get familiar with it. So for my frequently asked questions, and Mac gave me a lot of questions to let me prepare. And also during my interview, I record the different questions I received for my interview, and I wrote them down, and then I combined and I practice. And in the end, I whichever questions they ask me, and even though this kind of question I didn't prepare it before, but I can use similar examples to give them a very good example. So you will know how to answer them in the end if you practice enough examples and questions. For the online test, just practice, especially for the SJT and the numerical. So especially for the SJT, and if you cannot understand, and you can communicate with Mac, because there is some cultural difference between your local country and the US, and also especially between your previous thinking and the way you deal with this kind of situation in a real working time. And also for the numerical, I think numerical, it is, if you practice enough numerical tests, it is quite obvious that you can see your progress every day. And in the end, I want to say that never thought that you cannot pass an online test or a video interview. That is because that you didn't practice enough. Because I never thought that I can get the final round. So just practice, practice, and practice, and never give up.
So just my last question. I suppose this might be relevant for when you were looking for a job and also now that you're working at your job. Is there any book, program, or course that you would recommend that you feel has really helped you in terms of increasing your chance of success or understanding the industry, or anything that comes to mind that you've recently used?
Because actually, I didn't attend any kind of special program or read some book about related with Big Four. But I think if you want to, I know, because if you studied accounting and you can know the nature of the Big Four, such as audit or the advisory. But if your subject is not related with that, and you can, because I am only familiar with the audit, so you can learn some accounting books such as the ACCA or ICAS. It is an institute of
ICA.
ICAS, yes, because
Or
this
ICAS,
is,
yeah.
ICAS, because I know that in our finance services department, and each team member for the graduate scheme, for everyone, it is compulsory for you to pass this kind of exam in the first 3 years, because there is a training for you each year and you will attend school. So I don't think it is a problem that you know nothing about this industry, and because there is training each year and there is a school, because there is a study leave every year for each graduate, for example, two months, and give you some time, and there is a full pay during the leave, and you can attend the school and pass the exam.
No, that's great. Thank you. I think there's some helpful websites, and I will be sure to add the links. Listen, Boa, thank you so much for your time. It's been really helpful. We've covered a lot of ground. There's been lots of really good advice, and we'll continue to wish you success in your journey, and hopefully sometime soon you'll be able to stop working from home and maybe meet your colleagues in real life.
Yes, offline. Thank you, Mac.